The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark and Team USA didn't begin with a loss, or a scandal, or even a bad performance. It began with something far more subtle and far more confusing. A system that didn't make sense, a rotation that raised eyebrows, and a head coach, Cara Lawson, whose decisions slowly turned a dominant roster into a growing question mark. Because in a tournament where Team USA was expected to overwhelm every opponent, the real story wasn't whether they would win. It was how they were choosing to win, and more importantly, who they were choosing to hold back from the very start. There was a plan in place, one that placed Clark, arguably the most electric and forward-thinking player on the roster, in a limited role. Not as the centerpiece, not as the engine, but as a piece rotating in and out of a slower, more controlled system. It was a decision that seemed almost experimental, as if the coaching staff wanted to test whether a generational talent could be molded into something more traditional. But basketball, especially at this level, doesn't reward hesitation. It exposes it. Game 1 offered the first glimpse of what was about to unfold. Clark came off the bench, stepped into the chaos, and immediately bent the game to her will. In limited minutes, she broke multiple records, delivered a historic assist performance, and injected a level of pace that transformed the offense from predictable to unstoppable. It was the kind of debut that forces a coaching staff to rethink everything, but that rethink never came. Instead, the system remained the same. The ball moved slower. The offense settled into half-court sets that drained the shot clock. And the player who had just rewritten the record books was once again asked to wait her turn. It wasn't just surprising. It was disorienting, because every possession seemed to highlight the same contradiction. The team functioned, but it didn't explode. It executed, but it didn't dominate. And sitting just a few feet away was the one player who could change that instantly. As the games continued, the tension became impossible to ignore. Opponents began adjusting, not just to Team USA, but specifically to Clark in the Puerto Rico game. An entire defensive scheme was built to contain her. A box and one that signaled just how much attention she demanded even in a limited role. But instead of countering that strategy with creativity, the system around her stayed rigid. The offense stalled. The rhythm disappeared. And for the first time, the frustration wasn't just coming from analysts or fans. It was visible in the flow of the game itself. Still, even within those constraints, Clark's impact refused to disappear. Her efficiency remained unmatched. Her plus-minus led not only her team, but the entire tournament. Every time she stepped on the floor, the game shifted, even if the system refused to fully embrace it. It was the kind of quiet dominance that doesn't need headlines to be understood. The numbers told the story clearly. The team was better with her, significantly better. And then came the moment that changed everything, a press conference. A simple question, and a response that said more by what it avoided than what it addressed. When asked directly about Clark's role, Lawson deflected, choosing generalities over specifics, unity over clarity. It was the kind of answer that doesn't resolve tension, but amplifies it. Because when a player is breaking records and redefining expectations, silence becomes its own statement. Shortly after, Lawson was gone. No announcement, no explanation, no transition plan publicly outlined. Just an empty space on the sideline and a new figure stepping into it. Nate Tibbetts, a coach with no prior role in the tournament, suddenly holding the clipboard, calling the plays, and making the decisions that would define the rest of Team USA's run. And with that change, everything shifted. Tibbetts didn't ease into the role. He didn't experiment or hesitate. His first move was immediate and decisive. Clark was moved into the starting lineup. The offense was rebuilt around pace, spacing, and quick decision-making. It wasn't a subtle adjustment. It was a complete philosophical reset. And the results came just as quickly as the change itself. The very next game turned into a statement. The ball moved faster. The spacing opened up. Teammates found themselves with cleaner looks earlier in possessions. before defenses could settle. Clark operated at the center of it all, pushing in transition, reading the floor with the same anticipation that had defined her rise, and creating opportunities that simply didn't exist in the previous system. The scoreboard reflected it brutally. A 55-point victory, but the margin, as overwhelming as it was, only told part of the story. What mattered more was how it happened. The flow of the game felt different. The confidence looked different. The entire identity of the team had changed in a matter of days, not because the roster improved, but because the system finally aligned with the talent it had, and that alignment continued. Another dominant win followed, then another. The offense became dynamic, unpredictable, and relentless. Guard-heavy lineups stretched defenses thin. Multiple ball handlers created layers of pressure that opponents couldn't contain. And at the center of it all was Clark, doing exactly what she had always done when given the freedom to play her game. By the end of the tournament, the numbers painted a picture that no narrative could distort. Clark led Team USA in nearly every meaningful category. She led the entire tournament in efficiency and plus-minus. And she did it while spending a significant portion of the event coming off the bench. 14 world records fell in just 7 days. A feat that doesn't just signal greatness, but inevitability. And hovering over all of it was the question that refused to fade. What would this have looked like from the beginning? What if the system had been built around her from game one? What if the hesitation never existed? Because the difference between the first half of the tournament and the second wasn't subtle. It was overwhelming. It was the difference between a team that wins and a team that dominates. Between control and chaos. Between limitation and freedom. As Team USA moves forward, and as Clark prepares for the next stage of her career, the lessons from this tournament linger. Not just about talent, but about trust. About understanding what you have and building around it instead of trying to reshape it. Because players like Clark don't come along often. And when they do, the cost of mismanaging that talent isn't just a few stagnant possessions. It's an entire system falling short of what it could have been. So now the spotlight turns to the future. To how coaches, organizations, and teammates respond to what has already been proven. Because the blueprint is no longer theoretical. It's been tested in real time on an international stage, under pressure, with results that speak for themselves. So what do you think really happened behind the scenes? Was Cara Lawson truly mismanaging Caitlin Clark? Or was there a bigger plan that simply fell apart under pressure? And now that the system has clearly shifted, do you believe Team USA has finally unlocked its full potential moving forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is far from settled. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breakdown of the biggest stories shaping the world of sports.